2045, How Life Will Look Like. It was the year 2045. Daniel Carter stood on the balcony of his apartment, staring down at the city below. The air was quiet in a way that still felt unnatural. There were no honking horns, no revving engines, only the low hum of electric motors and the buzzing of drones slicing through the sky. Streets glowed with neon patterns. Advertisements shimmered in holographic 3D above glass towers. And beneath his feet, a Hyperloop train whispered through its tunnel at breathtaking speed. Life had changed so fast, and sometimes Daniel didn't recognize the world he had grown up in anymore. Back in the 2020s, technology was powerful, but still felt human. Artificial intelligence lived in our hands. Siri spoke, ChatGPT wrote, DALL-E painted dreams from text. They amazed, entertained, even helped us think, but never threatened to become us. Solar fields shimmered across deserts, turbines danced with the wind, yet the planet still breathed in oil and smoke. The metaverse arrived with promises of new worlds, but it felt clumsy, more experiment than escape. Self-driving cars glided through test cities, their human passengers gripping the wheel just in case. And when schools moved online, it became clear. Knowledge could travel through fiber, but empathy could not. Humanity felt secure at the center of progress. We believed the future would always need us, that we were the authors of change, not its subjects. But from where Daniel stood in 2045, that confidence felt like a distant illusion. Progress had been weaving itself into daily life long before most people noticed. It didn't arrive as a revolution, but as comfort hidden behind convenience. One innovation at a time, it changed everything. Between 2020 and 2030, artificial intelligence crossed a threshold. It stopped assisting and started thinking. Algorithms no longer waited for commands, they reasoned, designed, negotiated, and created. Software wrote flawless code, engineered entire skyscrapers, composed music, and drafted legal contracts better than humans ever could. In hospitals, AI systems detected diseases in seconds, spotting cancers invisible to human eyes. Patients trusted them more than doctors. Transportation followed close behind. Congress finally approved fully autonomous vehicles, ending decades of debate. Driverless convoys of electric trucks streamed across the country, moving goods day and night without rest. Truck stops are closed. The romance of the open road, the songs, the diners, the long-haul stories faded into nostalgia. Around the same time, 3D printing left research labs and entered ordinary homes. Families began printing furniture, tools, clothes, even parts of their houses. Factories dimmed as production decentralized. Manufacturing, once the beating heart of economies, became something people did quietly in their kitchens. By 2030 to 2035, healthcare made a leap that once belonged to science fiction. Robotic surgeons guided by AI performed operations with atomic precision. Personalized nanotherapies cured diseases before symptoms appeared. DNA editing became routine. For the wealthy, whispers began. Maybe death itself could be optional. From 2035 to 2040, the metaverse transformed into something unrecognizable. No longer a clunky game behind a headset, it became a living ecosystem. Offices migrated into digital towers, schools turned into avatar classrooms. People dated, married, and even raised digital children inside vast simulated worlds that felt more alive than reality itself. And then came 2040 to 2045, the shockwave. 70% of cognitive jobs vanished. Clerks, analysts, teachers, lawyers, all replaced by algorithms. Smart cities ran themselves. Traffic, energy, even law enforcement governed by invisible minds. Cash disappeared, replaced by blockchain economies managed entirely by AI. The headlines of that decade told the story. AI surpasses doctors in every field. Cash retired. Global digital economy official. First autonomous smart city declares independence. The world didn't collapse. It evolved just faster than most humans could follow. Next, an example from Daniel's own life showed how the rapid rise of technology was slowly replacing people like him. He had been a teacher. He taught high school English, Shakespeare, poetry, writing, the messy humanity of words. He believed no machine could replace the bond between student and mentor. But in 2038, his school introduced AI teachers. At first, they were called assistants. He supervised their lessons, guided group discussions, and offered the empathy machines could not. But within months, students began preferring them. The AI tailored lessons instantly, remembered every detail, and never grew tired. Scores soared. Engagement deepened. Within 2 years, Daniel was irrelevant. The principal thanked him politely, handed him severance papers, and explained that his position was redundant. He walked home that afternoon carrying 2 decades of his life in a cardboard box. The paycheck was gone. The purpose was gone. His identity as a teacher, gone. Like millions, he retrained. He learned to write interactive stories for the metaverse, crafting narratives for clients who existed only as avatars. His smart apartment became his manager. It printed meals, paid bills, monitored his stress, reminded him of deadlines. It kept him afloat. But late at night, Daniel wondered, was he surviving or simply being kept? By 2045, the foundations of daily life rested on entirely new pillars: automation, data, longevity, and illusion. Artificial intelligence and robots dominated every field. Lawyers, doctors, drivers, analysts, all replaced or managed by machines. People like Daniel existed on the periphery, supervising, advising, or simply maintaining the systems that no longer needed them. Transportation had become a silent choreography. There were no steering wheels, no traffic lights, only streams of synchronized vehicles gliding through invisible grids. Hyperloop tunnels connected distant cities in minutes, while the wealthy commuted through the skies in drone taxis, carving their own invisible highways above the world below. Healthcare had rewritten biology. Organs were 3D printed, memories stored and transferred, consciousness backed up like files. The rich lived beyond 100 years with nanotech and gene editing, while the poor still waited in underfunded clinics. Death had become a luxury problem, a gap measured not by time, but by wealth. Education existed almost entirely in the digital realm. 90% of students learned online, guided by AI professors capable of teaching millions simultaneously, tailoring lessons with surgical precision. Classrooms were global avatars of children from New York to Nairobi sitting side by side in simulated spaces. Teachers like Daniel existed only in old photographs and archived videos. The metaverse had evolved into a second civilization. People worked there, fell in love there, and even raised virtual families. Some logged out less and less, until the physical world felt like a simulation. Finance and housing were fully automated. Every purchase, every payment, every mortgage was managed by AI. Homes responded to emotion, shifting walls and light according to mood. Privacy was the price of comfort. The walls watched, listened, remembered. This was no longer science fiction. This was Tuesday. And Daniel Carter was simply living quietly inside the year 2045. You see, the rhythm of life in 2045 feels seamless on the surface. Beneath it runs a current of inequality that cannot be ignored. The wealthy lived longer, stronger, richer. They upgraded their bodies with implants, stored memories on cloud servers, and vacationed on Mars. The poor lived outside smart grids, in neighborhoods where drones no longer delivered, where hospitals no longer functioned. Rural areas collapsed when truck drivers lost their jobs, when hospitals closed, when cash vanished, and digital systems excluded the unbanked. Small towns withered, fields emptied, culture shifted. Families gathered less in person, more as holograms. People laughed with the ghost of their mothers as they sat across the world. They hugged light. The intimacy was convincing, but never complete. Yes, accidents decreased. Yes, diseases became curable. Yes, the air grew cleaner. But the cost was written in unemployment lines, in abandoned houses, in empty chairs. Humanity has traded connections for efficiency, and there was no way back. Still, humanity adapts. We always have. When the old world vanished, new professions emerged: AI ethicists, metaverse architects, biotech engineers, digital artists, humans rebuilding relevance inside the systems that replaced them. Entire economies now revolved around maintaining, auditing, and emotionally balancing artificial minds. Governments introduced universal basic income, not as comfort, but as survival, enough for food, shelter, and access to the networks required to exist. Communities reinvented themselves as retraining hubs. Daniel watched former truckers learn to code, factory workers design virtual worlds, and teachers reprogram empathy algorithms for AI companions. Many failed, but those who tried rediscovered purpose in the act of adaptation itself. Meanwhile, science turned inward. People began editing their genes, upgrading their senses, integrating implants to think faster, heal faster, live longer. Humanity was no longer just evolving, it was rewriting itself. And through it all, art returned. Poetry, music, painting, echoes of the soul that no algorithm could replicate. Perhaps this was humanity's quiet rebellion, creating meaning where perfection could not. This was 2045, and the world was both breathtaking and unsettling. Humanity had cured diseases, silenced highways, and built cities that thought for themselves. But in doing so, it had lost something harder to measure: its place at the center of it all. I often wondered if the machines had really taken human jobs, or if people had given them away, piece by piece, in the name of convenience. And the question remained: if someone lived in 2045, would they choose to remain in this reality or surrender to the virtual worlds where everything felt perfect? Let us know in the comment section below if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to The Last Human Job and continue watching by clicking on one of the cards on your screen. See you in the next one.